again with match number 5 of IPL this season. In fact, the 5th match is being played between the Kolkata team and the Mumbai team. Both of them have played their initial matches. Kolkata, of course, winning their opening encounter, and Mumbai losing in the very last ball. So it's an interesting game. We'll really have to see whether the champions Mumbai Indians are able to turn it around this time. I have with me Babashish Nanda, the fantasy gully expert, who will help you make the fantasy team, the team that you are looking to make as a super selector. Here are the top tips. Babashish, tell us, what are the top 5 fantasy picks that you can give us for today's game?
Hi Rika, hi everyone out there. Well, you mentioned that these two games involving these two teams, the first game, in fact, let's just look at the top fantasy scorers in that game, and that'll give us a good little perspective of how to go forward. And in that particular game, we saw Kolkata really out-muscle the opposition thanks to Nitish Rana and Rahul Tripathi, who came in, who got a ton of fantasy points, followed by Prashid Krishna, who came in, picked up wickets with the new ball, and then, of course, right up there, even though Mumbai lost, from that team, Chris Lynn, Jasprit Bumrah, and Krunal Pandya, they all chipped in with fantasy points. And so that actually takes us to our top picks. But having said that, it's not just the current form that we consider. The AI that works along with the fantasy gully takes a lot of factors in consideration, not just the current form, but of course the form of this player against a particular opposition, what sort of plays in that particular venue as well. So considering all that, the top 5 picks for now, for this game, drum rolls, here we go. That's Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav. If you look at the right column for these two players, that average fantasy points of 39 and 35 in the last 10 games, I can assure you, Rika, that this is an anomaly. These two players take their game a notch high up when they play Kolkata. So you can expect them to come good. Nitish Rana, I mean, he's been brimming with confidence. We'll talk about him later on. But
Babashish, let me ask you, when one looks at your top 5 player picks, you have put Chris Lynn. How confident are you of Lynn making the team, given that Quinton de Kock is down with his quarantine and he's going to come back, and what we understand, he'll pretty much walk into the team?
Yes, absolutely. Quinton de Kock is out of quarantine and he will walk in. Again, such is the dynamic nature of the IPL that, of course, you got to wait till that final toss happens and then Mumbai takes a call how they want to go about it. But the fantasy analysis tells you what sort of a player Chris Lynn is and what sort of a player Quinton de Kock is, what you get with. So Quinton de Kock comes in with a very high fantasy rating of 8.3 as compared to Chris Lynn, who's 6.6. But there's something else that Chris Lynn gives you, and that is his X factor. If you look at that X factor meter, that just rises slightly. That just means that he's a much more radical player. On a given day, Chris Lynn will win you games in the power play itself. But considering Mumbai and they want stability, it's a no-brainer that Quinton de Kock walks in straight away.
Interesting you spoke about the X factor that Chris Lynn brings in. Not to forget his fielding skills. He ran out the opposition captain last time around, and perhaps only because of the way he fielded, Mumbai Indians might be tempted just to accommodate him at some spot. Talking about the opposition team, Kolkata Knight Riders, do you see Harbhajan Singh bowl more overs in this match? He hadn't bowled last time around, given Quinton de Kock is going to open. Do you see him bowl a lot more?
Fantastic point there. I mean, when you saw Harbhajan running up in the Kolkata kit, it's a moment to cherish that you've seen him bowling for a very different color for a long time. And considering QDK is a left-hander, you expect him to turn the ball away. Similar strategy point you picked on brilliantly here, that even in the Kolkata batting lineup, there are about 3 left-handers. So Mumbai, with plenty of thinking caps on, they might bring in another right arm off spinner. We'll talk about Jayant Yadav once we talk about the budget picks. But yeah, wonderful. We might see Harbhajan bowling slightly more.
So give me your budget picks for this fantasy team that we are looking at, the game between Mumbai and Kolkata.
Well, quite a few actually, and we mentioned Nitish Rana and Rahul Tripathi right at the top. Nitish Rana with 8.5 credits, Rahul Tripathi with just 8 credits. Now, these are the players who are forming the crux of that Kolkata middle order right now. And if they bat well, if they put their head into it, they get more than 15, 20 overs to bat together, and they are explosive. Talking about Mumbai, we mentioned how Ishan Kishan have been going through and through the gears. He's confident. And then, of course, there's Jayant Yadav, as I mentioned, who just comes on for 8 credits. But if he plays, wait for the toss. If he plays, he's a very good budget pick.
So let me ask you who all will be your X factor players for this game, because that's a crucial component when we talk about fantasy.
Oh, sure. I mean, even though we have seen so far that this Chennai pitch actually produces a lot of help for the Pacers, you cannot rule out that historically, even in 2019, Chennai
pitch, yes.
had absolutely. So you can expect someone like a Varun Chakravarti who comes in with a very high X factor to just come in, roll in a couple of mystery balls, and he might give you a lot of points.
And tell us a little bit about the general strategy that you expect to be adopted on this pitch.
Well, as I mentioned, what we have seen, what the data suggests right now is that the Pacers are really having a very good time. So what you got to do is look out for the top quicks that are coming in this game. The likes of Jasprit Bumrah, the likes of Trent Bolt, who can make that new ball talk and can be equally effective with the old ball as well. And then take a look at the rising star of India's golden age in pace bowling for sure, Prashid Krishna. I mean, he picked up wickets with the new ball, so you got to watch out for him. And Patty Cummins, of course, who's gone around the world, told the world that he's a very good red ball bowler. Now he's telling the world that he can bowl with a white ball too.
Finally, give us your fantasy team for the day.
Well, I mean, we got to really wait for what sort of a combination they go in with. But straight away, the batsmen that you see right now, they're going to be almost right up there. The likes of Rohit Sharma, Suryakumar Yadav, Nitish Rana. As far as the all-rounders are concerned, there's a little bit of a tangy thing that's going on with the fantasy gamers, that Hardik Pandya is not bowling. Mumbai has made it clear that Kieron Pollard is their sixth bowling option. So for that all-rounder slot, you're not going for an obvious choice. You're slotting in his brother, maybe someone like Krunal Pandya. And as far as the bowlers are concerned, we expect you to put more pacers in that bowling lineup. And if you have to bank on one spinner, be careful with whom you go out with.
Interesting. We'll have to bank on the Pacers in Chennai, given that Chennai is traditionally spinners' deck, and we know in the past years what Chennai Super Kings has been able to do on that deck. Again, for all you Mumbai fans, one must say that Chennai has not been a happy hunting ground for them, but let's not rule out a Mumbai comeback, because traditionally they have lost their first game of the IPL in the last 9 IPL, and then they have come roaring back. Thank you very much, Babashish, for joining us and giving us those fantasy picks. Now, if you want to make your team and get the best picks, go to ndtv.com and fantasygully.com for all that you need to know.